Hello, it's Weekend Handicapper from weekendhandicapper.com. In this video, we are going to learn the 3 best tips for betting on horses for beginners. So if you're brand new to horse racing, if you're just learning the handicap, this is the video for you. Before we get too far though, if you like these kind of videos, if you want more information about learning on how to bet on horses, hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you can get all the latest tips, tools, and resources to help you win money on thoroughbred horse races. 3 tips. What's the best 3 tips? Well, it's hard to pare it down to 3, but if you're brand new to horse racing, I think these are going to pay big dividends for you over time in the long run. So if you're just starting to bet on horses, tip number 1 is please do not bet every race. I can't say this enough. I say this in other videos, but I gotta keep repeating it because I see people bet every single race. Most races aren't bettable. So make sure that if you're gonna learn how to bet on horses and start playing the ponies, don't bet on every single race. All right? So don't go, if you're a golfer, you don't go out and play every single tournament. So you pick your spots, right? So do not bet every single race because most races aren't bettable. Instead, be patient, allocate your bankroll and your wagers to those races that you feel confident in. All right, so tip number 2. Tip number 2 is along those same lines. So if we don't bet every single race, tip number 2 is get specific on what kinds of races that you want to bet. Get very good at certain kinds of races. So in horse racing world, that could be sprints on the dirt or routes on the turf, or you can do it by class level. If you only bet stakes races, which are the most popular, most well-known to the general public races, or do you only bet what's called claiming races or maiden claiming races? You got to get specific. So when you're just learning, now eventually you'll be able to handicap pretty much whatever race that you see on a race card. Doesn't mean you bet it, but you'll be able to handicap it. But when you're just starting out, it could be daunting to know what an allowance race is, or a maiden claiming race, or a turf route, or a marathon race on the turf. I mean, it can blow your mind. Right? And that puts a lot of people off, discourages a lot of people trying to learn how to bet on horses because there's so much information, there's so many options, there's so many different kinds of races, so many different kinds of class levels and conditions. So do yourself a favor, just at the beginning, get really good and pinpoint, get specific. So step number 2 is get specific on a certain types of race. So when you handicap, look for example, 6 furlongs on the dirt, on the main track. That's all you would play, and you would get pretty good. What's even more, you get even more specific, 6 furlongs on the dirt at track so-and-so. So whatever track you like to play that you're most familiar with and you think you have an edge or you feel pretty good about, or you just enjoy playing, that's all you would play at the beginning. Get good at that one type of race, 6 furlongs on the dirt at track whatever. And I guarantee you your confidence will build because all you have to do is worry about this one area. It's just like medicine. You know, sure, we got general practitioners, which are wonderful, they're great, but you have to go to a specialist sometimes. Or if you take your car to a transmission, you want to get specific, those experts on that field. Right now, when you're just learning how to bet on horses, be a specialist. Learn how to pick winners or figure out races at a certain distance, at a certain track, in certain conditions. Then, once you start hitting some wagers and profiting from them, then start expanding. So, that would be tip number 2, get very specific. Along those same lines, you could get specific with the type of wager. You know, eventually you might be a pick 4, pick 5 player where you have to handicap all kinds of different races. Not when you're just beginning. Remember, this video is for pure beginners just learning. Stick with basic bets like the win bet. Just learn how to pick winners. in a race, in a specific race. And then you can expand your repertoire. So step number 2, or tip number 2, is be specific. And tip number 3, and the best tips for betting on horses for beginners, is please don't bet just on jockeys or horses' names. Don't do that. I see it all the time. I hear it all the time when I go to the track. Over here's grandma betting on this name, or so-and-so's a good jockey historically, but they're having a horrible year, so that's all they're going to do is just bet on the name of a jockey, what they did like years ago. Don't do that. Put some hard work, mental energy into handicapping these races. It's a logical game for the most part. Over the long run, it's logical. Sure, grandma can bet on a gray on a rainy day and win a long shot price, but over time, grandma is not going to out handicap and out wager somebody that does this quite often and knows what they're doing, right? Over the long term, grandma probably won't win with those names. Now, nothing against going out to the track, having fun, betting on a horse that has a pretty name or a pretty horse. But if you want to learn how to seriously make money and bet horses, then get that horse's name, angle, and the jockey, well-known jockey angle out here. Do well-known jockeys get on the better horses? Yeah, but doesn't mean every race they get on, they're on the best horse. So don't discount. It's like you can put the best NASCAR driver in a Ford Pinto and they ain't going to win the race, right? You're going to have a nice, decent car, a competitive car to win the race. I don't care how good of a driver you are. You ain't getting in just any piece of junk and winning a race just because you're a good driver, right? You need horsepower, no pun intended. You need a nice horse. So don't put too much stock in just betting jockeys like a lot of amateurs do. Don't bet on horses' names or how pretty the horse is. If you want to be a serious handicapper, if you want to really learn how to bet horses and wager on them. Okay? So let's recap. Step number 1, or tip number 1, is you don't want to play every single race. Eliminate most races, and instead, tip number 2, get very specific on certain kinds of races from the start. Get confident at handicapping them, know what to expect from those types of races at the racetracks you play. And then step number 3, avoid betting on popular jockeys just because certain jockeys riding certain horses, and hunch plays as far as names go, pretty names. If you can eliminate that, then you're going to be well on your way. And instead, use some of these tips and resources and some of the stuff I talk about in these videos, sound handicapping principles. Pay attention to stuff like track bias. There's so much proven stuff out there that works for successful horse players in terms of handicapping and how to bet horses, that you're going to be a lot better off. All right. So if you're just learning how to bet horses, that could be 3 tips that will reduce the learning curve for you and eliminate a lot of the nonsense and get you into the winner circle ASAP. All right. So if you like these kind of videos, if you want to learn more about betting on horses, hit that subscribe button, that notification bell, so you can get all the latest tips, tools, and resources from the Weekend Handicapper. Check out weekendhandicapper.com. And until next time, happy handicapping and smart wagering.